Process and problems of migration. The Oregon Trail was 3,200 kilometres long, starting from the Missouri River and ending in the Willamette Valley, Oregon. Migrants splitting off the Oregon Trail and heading to California had a 3,800 kilometre trip in total. The journey was a major challenge, and migrants needed to plan each stage carefully. Migrants needed to complete their journey before the winter because otherwise they were likely to get stuck in the mountains and freeze to death. Migrants were advised not to begin the journey until April. This gave enough time for fresh grass to grow on the plains after winter and provide food for their animals. Migrants needed to take enough food to live on for the whole journey, as well as essentials for setting up their new home. Most people lived on salt pork because it did not rot for a long time. The best animals to pull the fully loaded wagons were oxen, very strong, obedient, and able to live on the grass and sage bushes of the plains. However, oxen were very slow. They moved at 3 kilometres an hour. This slow progress meant time was very tight. With an April start, there could be no delays if migrants were to get through the mountains before winter. Most wagon trains, the name given to the long line of wagons, ended up with at least 20 wagons, and some had many more. It was safest to travel in large groups with people that had a range of skills. For example, a carpenter to help repair damage to the wagons, hunters and fishermen to provide food, and people with medical skills. Problems. The main problems were getting stuck, falling ill, or running out of supplies. At least 20,000 people are thought to have died along the trail, many from drowning, and some from accidents, such as being crushed under a wagon's wheels. The biggest killer was cholera. Cholera was a consequence of everybody following the same tried and tested migration process. Each wagon train used the same spots for campsites, and popular spots were by rivers. Migrants used the rivers for drinking water, but also to go to the toilet in. This spread disease, especially cholera. Many migrants dreaded attacks by Plains Indians, but in fact, most settlers' diaries record no mention of conflict. Plains Indians were more likely to help the migrants through the mountains than attack them. However, white settlers' fears led to calls for government protection for migrants. The experiences of the Donner Party. The Donner Party was a group of 300 migrants in 60 wagons. The group, led by the Donner brothers, started the Oregon Trail in May 1846. They were well equipped, although the group had more elderly people, women and children than was usual. By July, they had reached Fort Bridger in the Rocky Mountains. The group split. Around 80 migrants, including both Donner brothers, decided to try a new shortcut that left the Oregon Trail some 550 kilometres off the established route. A trail guide called Langsford Hastings had written about this shortcut in a guidebook. It was described as a fine road with plenty of grass and water. What the migrants did not know was that Hastings had not used the shortcut himself. He simply thought it should work. The shortcut turned out to be anything but short. Instead of saving time, this route caused delay after delay. Unlike the well-established Oregon Trail, where migrants could just follow the ruts left by the wagon's wheels of previous travellers, this route had not been marked out and was hard to follow. When the Oregon Trail had been cleared for wagons, here the terrain was rocky and rugged, with steep slopes and deep canyons. The party had to try at different spots to cross rivers before they found the safest spot to cross, unlike the Oregon Trail, where river ferries waited to transfer migrants across for a fee. There were also stretches of desert with no water or grass for livestock, with none of the Oregon Trail's forts where migrants could take on new provisions and places where livestock could find pasture. Arguments raged constantly within the group as what they should do, keep going or turn back. It was mid-October when the Donner Party reached the Sierra Nevada mountains. At the start of November, the exhausted oxen had dragged the wagons high into the mountains. But before they could make it over the pass, snowstorms trapped the Donner Party. Their livestock died, and soon their food ran out. The first migrants died of starvation on the 15th of December. When rescuers from California reached the party in February, only half of the original 80 were alive, and most of those only survived by eating those that had died. Source B. Captain Phelan, who led one of the rescue parties, described what he found when he reached the Donner Party in February 1847. A horrible scene presented itself. Human bodies terribly mutilated, legs, arms, and skulls scattered in every direction. At the mouth of a tent stood a large pot filled with human flesh cut up. It was the body of George Donner. His head had been split open and the brains extracted.